Welcome everybody to our July installment of really sharing some of the insights into the digital marketing world that Josh, myself, VitalStorm have collected over the years from all the conversations we have with other marketing firms, all of our clients, other home service companies that we've talked with or that have joined us on these things and have spurred off on other conversations. So super excited for you guys to be here. For those of you who have not been a part of one of these discussions, my name's Austin. I lead the sales team here at VitalStorm, and so I work with or talk to thousands of home service companies probably on a yearly basis. So I'm super excited to have you guys joining us here. You've probably seen a bunch of emails from me, so I'm glad I can put a face to the name that you've been seeing in my inbox. Or your inbox. I've also brought Josh along. He's one of the co-founders here at VitalStorm, and he's really going to be bringing a lot of his knowledge into our topic today. And so, Josh, I'll turn the mic over to you here for a second, let you introduce yourself and where you're coming from, and then we'll jump in today.
Hey, thanks, Austin. I do appreciate it. And yeah, we love doing these live discussions, although we think most people actually see them on the replay, which is not a problem. They're out there on YouTube for everybody to see. We just love sharing this information. We think if we contribute and give into this industry that it's only going to make things better for us. And so we like being the guys that are sharing all the great information. Can't hurt. And today's a little different because we typically jump in here to talk about marketing. Well, you can have the best marketing strategy ever, but if your call center isn't really, what they say, banging on all cylinders, then you could be either wasting money on marketing or leaving revenue on the table or both. And so this is a very sensitive topic, I know. And sometimes we start this conversation with some of our own partners or just other folks, like you said, Austin, that we meet in the industry. And they love their people in their call center, and they're great people. They're doing a great job. And so sometimes it can be painful to dig in and look at this. So I'm proud of everyone who's on today to have this live discussion, as well as who are watching on a replay, because it means you're ready to face the music and you want to see, okay, where are problems? How can we get better? How can we make things even better than they are now? Let's say you have the best call center on the planet. Well, maybe there's still a list of 10 things that you can do better. And so let's figure out what those are and let's jump in. And like Austin said, I'm one of the co-founders here at VitalStorm, and everything that we've discussed, Austin, what's it been? Over a year now we've been doing these live discussions each month.
Yeah. We started almost pre-COVID. We started right around the time COVID hit. So it's been a long time. We've been doing it.
And everything that we share comes from straight out of the industry. Like Austin already said, we talk to literally thousands of local service companies over a decade that VitalStorm's been around. And I was in this space even before VitalStorm existed. So it's been a long time that we've been in communication with people just like you, these home service company operators, whether you're the owner, the CEO, or the manager or marketing manager, whatever you might be, you're at a decision-making level in that organization. We've talked to people just like you. And although you all have your own unique parts to your company and you have your own unique things that set you apart, you also have your own unique challenges. Many of you share a lot of the same challenges. And I know, Austin, that's where you're going to jump in and get us started on this live discussion.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's right where I was going to jump in, is that, in the discussions with all of these home service companies, we do hear a lot of this similar challenges that home service companies are facing. And a lot of those, I'm not saying all the problems are the same, but a common thread that we tend to hear is something that has to do with the call center. It might be not booking enough calls, maybe just simply not enough calls are coming in. Where is that problem, and what's the underlying factor there? And so in the discussions with all of these home service company owners, managers, marketing directors, any of those people that have anything to do with marketing, they all seem to have these same common problems. And again, a lot of them align here in the call center. And so we feel like you can add, and this is kind of segueing into what we'll talk about today. We feel like you can add almost $1 million in revenue by simply adjusting your call center strategy. And so that's what we're going to be here talking about today. Just these small, simple changes. There could be money just sitting there on the table for you to grab. And so whether you're $100 million company, a $1 million company, or even less than $1 million company, watching this, there's things to note on money being left on the table, and it's the same for everybody. And so that's what we'll be focusing in on today. What we'll be sharing with you is again, how to add $1 million in revenue by adjusting that call center strategy. So let's jump in, Josh. We'll start to focus on some of the topics that we want to share with you guys today. But before we jump in, as a home service owner, manager, marketing director, you could be experiencing one of these issues that a lot of other companies are also experiencing as well. And we tend to hear these a lot. And so what we tend to hear is that, you simply don't have enough revenue. Maybe you're not hitting your goals that you set for this year. Maybe there's just not enough money coming in to help grow the business or add that extra truck you want. Maybe there's just some underlying issue of there's not enough on the bottom line to focus on some of the new things you want to do for your business. And that could simply be because you feel like there aren't enough calls coming in. And that is really kind of the underlying issue that we'll be talking about today, is how to maybe change that mindset. Maybe the calls are already there. They're just simply not being booked the right way. And then your marketing seems too expensive. And I think this is one that we hear probably the majority of the time, because that as a home service owner or marketing director, you have to do marketing. And in 2021, it's just something that you have to have a budget allocated for. You've got to get your name out there in order to grow your business. And it's one of those things that I'd probably say a good majority of people, when they write that check or they have the auto pay, it hurts a little bit. It's just another kind of stab to the gut there that, maybe they don't feel like it's worth it. It's not working and they're just paying money to get the same outcome month over month. But I think, Josh, you mentioned this to me the other day, and it was interesting. It's, when a home service company is maybe in a slower month or in a low month, or in a slow season, they tend to pull back on marketing because it just logically makes sense to do that. Hey, we're slower, let's pull our funds back. But that can actually tend to hurt and make things even worse. And just because, marketing is viewed as that variable cost, so it just makes sense. But it's really not the best thing to do. And we actually talked about that in one of our previous webinars. And so you can see that on our YouTube channel that Josh mentioned. But
Austin, it's like trying to stop your watch in order to save time.
That's exactly right.
It's not gonna work. And it's a lie to think so. And looking at these problems as you just walk through them, they're all individual, unique problems, but I think also many people experience them in the same sequence. There's not enough revenue. Either you can't make payroll, or you could be making payroll and still feel like there's not enough revenue because you have certain goals that you want to accomplish. You wanted to launch another division of your home service company. Maybe you're in HVAC and you want to launch plumbing, and you don't have the capital to get that going because you're not hitting those goals on the air side, or whatever the reason might be. You just feel like there's not enough revenue there, and then it leads you to, gosh, there's not enough calls, because we all know that the calls bring revenue. And then if that persists and it hasn't been addressed yet, because there's maybe nothing to address, it seems, it feels like the marketing's too expensive. You're looking at that bill, like you said, Austin, you cut that check every single month to your agency or whoever else, or maybe it's a multitude of agencies that you're working with. These are real problems. And I know what you're going on to next. We're going to find how to address those and how to see if the call center might be an area that can improve so that we can get these problems dealt with.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I don't want to bring all the bad news. I shared a couple of common problems that home service companies might be facing, but there are some positives. There are some opportunities that are out there for us or you guys to go and grab and maybe have a solution to maybe one or two of these problems that you might be experiencing yourself. And so what we'll look at is how to increase revenue by simply just booking more calls. You know, think about it like this, and this is the whole purpose of the call today is how you can possibly add, and I'll keep saying it, $1 million in revenue by adjusting that call center strategy. And we'll show you those numbers in the math and how that can possibly work out for your business later on in the discussion today. But the revenue that you might need to add that truck or grow the business or take your employees on a nice trip or a weekend outing could already be sitting in your business. It could just be being left on the table in the call center. And that could lead perfectly to maximize your current lead flow. And so think about it like this, by simply making a small adjustment in that call center. Say you have 1,000 leads on a monthly basis that come in through your call center, and you only book 400 of those. That's a problem. There's 600 other calls that are coming into you that aren't being booked. Now, we can't say that every single one of those 600 was a lead, or maybe it was a duplicate call, but there's a lot of opportunity out there to turn those missed opportunities into booked calls without even adding any more leads to come into your call center. And so again, that money is just sitting there waiting for your call center to grab a hold of it, book those calls and pass them off to your team. And then simply grow your bottom line, spend the same on marketing. And I think this one might be where it might trip some people up, because they think, well, hey, if I want to make more money, I need to spend more money. That's a common term that we hear in conversations, no matter what we're talking about. You got to spend money and make money. But again, think about it like this. If you spend $1 million on marketing and got 1,000 phone calls, and then you spend and you booked 400 of those, and then you spend $1 million and got 1,000 phone calls and booked 800 of those, you've got more revenue. You've got more money coming out on the bottom line, and you didn't do anything different but book more of the phone calls that were already coming in the first place. And so I think all of these problems and opportunities that we kind of run through, they all align. I think they're all a solution to each problem as we work through it. But, Josh, anything you want to add here before we jump into really the 3 talking points that will help kind of give some more insight into the things we already mentioned today?
Yeah, nothing to add to what you've already said, but just reiterating here that there is opportunity in the call center. And my favorite opportunity here is this one, is that you can spend the same amount of money on marketing next year as you did last year, but have higher profits and a higher top line and bottom line, revenue and profit, by simply making these adjustments in your call center. And I think the most successful home service companies out there have systems and processes in place, and they are managing those processes. And I have time and time again, I find that the call center process is an area that gets overlooked. And, it's unfortunate, that in many cases, the call center team members are the lowest paid people on the team. And they're the gatekeeper for the revenue. You spend $1 million on marketing, it doesn't matter if none of that those leads get through to your technicians in the field. You've got to pass the baton, and you've got to pass the baton effectively. I bet every one of you watching this, whether you're watching live here now or you're watching on a replay, you have wonderful, fantastic people in your call center, and they're doing an awesome job for you, and they love working there, and you love having them there. Now, I know that's probably not the case with everyone. I know some people have some headaches in their call center, but for the most part, you've got great people. We're not talking about firing those people and finding other people to come in. What we're talking about is, because they're so good, let's give them a way to be even better. Make them feel more purpose and fulfillment in their role, because they're seeing how much they themselves can influence the health of the company by being that first line, that front line of your company. I believe that those of you who are watching this, you probably run a home service company that is better than the competition. You're not Chuck in a truck. I'm sorry if your name is Chuck, but you know what I mean by that. You're not the typical plumber or electrician or HVAC company. How are your customers going to know that? Well, they'll figure that out through the experience with your call center. And that's going to set the stage and set the tone for the rest of that transaction that's going to take place. And so, to me, there's so much opportunity in your call center. And I can't wait to jump into some of these things. Now we don't have time to go through a full training on these things that we found, but this is enough to get you interested and start digging and asking questions in your call center.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, yeah, let's jump in. Let's look at a couple of the ways that we can adjust this call center strategy and help those of you that are joining us today or watching later how to discover and find some of that extra revenue that's already there, just waiting for you to grab a hold of it. So the first thing that we'll look at today is the call center is the first impression. And I know you kind of mentioned that already, Josh, but why is this so important, or how can this be so important? Why does this even matter as to how you can add more money just by the call center being the first impression?
This is extremely important. In fact, some of the most successful home service companies in the nation that I've talked to, they have even gone as far as changing the name of their team to the First Impressions team. They want those people to understand that they are the first impression. Think about all that you stand for. Think about all your core values, everything you've worked for to make this, to build your culture, to make a name for yourself in your community and build a business. That call center person holds that in their hand when that person calls. Now, your call center needs to know that they're to not take things personal when people call in rude and short and just very abrupt. That happens all the time, and I'm sure you guys have stories yourself that you can share. But they need to understand that the people that are calling them are not in an ideal situation. They're having a problem in their life. It could be preventing them from going out of town. It could be preventing them from. It could be taking money out of their pocket that they were planning on spending to take the kids to Disneyland. You name it. There's a number of inconveniences they're facing. It could be making them late to work. It could be making their home hard to live in. And so they're frustrated, they're upset, and your team has the opportunity to take that, turn it around, and make it an experience that customer will never forget. Now, I get it. We're talking about plumbing, we're talking about electrical work, we're talking about HVAC work or roofing or whatever it might be. And we know that people, it's not like a restaurant or a hotel where you go there, you have an experience, you go and you tell everyone about it. And you go back and you go back and you go back. You talk about it on social media. When you have a plumbing problem, electrical problem, and HVAC problem, you want it fixed, and then you don't want to think about it. You don't care anymore. You're gone. Yeah, Bob did a great job. Thanks, Bob. High five. Get out of my life. I never want to see you again. And so I know that in the home services, we have that hurdle to overcome. But I've seen it. I've seen these big companies and small companies make an impact on their customers. And I've read the reviews. We've actually been a part of generating a lot of those reviews for our clients. And it all starts in the call center, where that call center team member needs to know that they need to be in the driver's seat. They need to be taught and trained how to get in the driver's seat, and then how to stay in that driver's seat, and be taught, just like in your car, when you make a wrong turn, GPS brings you back. So teaching them GPS, that they need to understand they are the first impression for your company. And there's a reason people are calling you. And so they need to be trained with the tools. We're going to talk a little bit about those tools here in a minute, so that as that first impression member, that first impression team, they can grab that client's hand, that customer's hand, and they can guide them through the process, starting with that wow experience there on the phone. Think about this. Think about what it's like before they call you. They're frustrated. They know they're gonna have to wait around for a technician to show up. They're afraid it's gonna cost a lot of money. They call and they get the typical experience. Bob's Plumbing. Hey, yeah, I've got a busted pipe that I need fixed, or I can't get the shower to drain any longer. All right, what's your address? And okay, looks like we serve your area. I can have a technician out there later today or first thing in the morning. I'll take later today, please. All right. You're on the schedule. They'll call you from 2 to 5, and just make sure you're home so that the technician can come in and take care of you. Appreciate you calling. Thanks. Bye. That might sound kind of funny, but that's the typical experience that people have when a plumber or an electrician. Now, how would you like to be that plumber who is earning a commission, that is driving his van to meet that customer that is already pissed off about what's going on in their home? And now they had this unpleasant experience over the phone. And now they're going to stand there and say, well, it's going to cost this amount of money for me to even get started. Now, contrast that with the same customer with the same frustration calling and having a very pleasant experience when they say, I've got a busted pipe. Oh my goodness, sir. I remember when that happened to me in the entire half back of our house, and it was a disaster. Let's get you taken care of immediately. Let me see what I can do to move things around so someone can get out there right away. How does this work? So already the experience is different. Now, fast forward, that technician is driving out to that customer's home, ready to meet them in their frustration. How much more has that plumber, that technician, been set up for more success? We're going to get into that here in a minute, but I want you to understand that that first impression has to happen there. Austin, what you got, man?
Yeah, no, I was just saying that's exactly what we were going to talk about next is setting those techs up for success. Because like you said, if you're already in a bad mood, you call somebody, you don't feel like you were taken care of to the standards that you hoped for, you thought you would be taken care of. Then somebody gets out here and gives you a $1,000 write-up to fix the problem. There could be potential you turn that guy around and say, no, thanks, I'm going to call somebody else. And you just lost an appointment. And again, there's that money sitting on the table that you just lost because of the call center experience. It's nothing the tech did wrong. It's not your prices. They're probably going to get paid the exact same thing for the guy down the street. But again, that call center absolutely helps set the techs up for success to book more of those appointments and more of those jobs along the way.
Certainly does, man. And when your team needs to understand that they weren't simply hired to answer the phone, answer questions, and be polite. I know many of them think that's it. And it's like going in, I was on a road trip. We stopped by a couple of amazing a couple of amazing diners in some small towns. And because we love that sort of greasy spoon diner food, which probably is not very healthy to eat, but you get the same experience there. They're going to be polite, but they're standing there with a pad in their hand. What'll it be, buddy? They write it down, they go get it, and they bring it back. That's not what your team should see themselves as. They're not just order takers. Instead, they are the expert practitioner. Those folks that in your call center do for a living. That makes them professionals, right? They're professionals. So they shouldn't just be professionals at being polite and answering the phone and answering questions. It's got to go much deeper than that. They are the expert practitioner. They are the front line of defense. They are your frontline people. They are the first impression. Not only are they carrying your brand and your core values and presenting those in their tone and their strategy and just their communication on the phone, but they're also skilled in being able to get that lead to book. Because how many times do you hear this? Oh, let me talk to my wife, or let me talk to my husband, or let me call around and shop around and get some other prices. That happens. That's natural. People do that. Well, majority of the time, they don't call back. So the team needs to be trained and skilled in being able to do so that the first impression sets a very strong impression, so that the technician is set up for success. And then they're even skilled in being able to close more of those opportunities. So you're gonna close them in two ways. It's gonna be the passive way, which is we're gonna close more deals just by having a pleasant experience on the phone. But then there's that active, kind of like underground, where they know strategically how to move that person from a caller to a customer, and then there's money in the bank. And so that's all important for us to understand, because what most people don't realize about their call center is that it's a bottleneck. All this effort is being put on marketing. Marketing gets all the credit. We've got this great ad, we've got this great agency, we've got this great team, we're getting tons of calls. Well, it's got to get through that call center. And so is your call center a bottleneck? You've got to ask yourself that. Austin, I know you've got something you can add to this piece too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's what I was gonna say right before you jumped into it was now we've kind of covered, how the call center can really impact the whole experience or even booking the call or even getting the job once the tech is there. But now when we actually look at it and diagnose where these problems could happen, um, again, now we're rewinding and going all the way back to the whole point of why you guys are here, why you're even watching this is now how can we add $1 million in revenue? And then the one tool for finding missed opportunities is call tracking. Everybody should be doing that. That's something that I talk about with the hundreds of thousands of home service companies I talk with, and the importance of it. And I think that's something that we'll probably say the next 3 or 4 times in the next 10 minutes is if you're not doing it, you absolutely should. It's the first step to really seeing how well your call center is doing and the missed opportunities that are out there and how you can go grab those. And so when we look at the first part, think about adding $1 million in your revenue. I know I said there was some math, there were some numbers we were going to show you. Let's look at that and kind of what that means. And so if your average ticket is somewhere around $800, now that's typically an industry standard. So, it could be more, it could be less, but booking 24 calls per week, just booking 24 more calls per week that you might already be getting could drive that extra $1 million in sales. And so if you look at the math there, 800 times 24 times the 52 weeks in a year, if you're working year round, $998,400. So just a little bit shy of that $1 million mark.
Just shy of $1 million. Yeah.
But that's a lot of money that again is just sitting there waiting for you to grab. And I could probably guarantee, and I think Josh will make the same bet, that those 24 calls per week are probably coming in. They're just not being capitalized to the fullest potential. And so,
and if not all 24, certainly 10 or 12 of them.
Yeah,
they're there. Those calls are there.
Yeah,
but let's keep going. Let's keep going.
And even the lifetime value. So you think $1 million in 1 year, but say those people come to you, maybe the average lifetime is maybe say 5 years, with the company. That's $5 million over the next 5 years if every single one of these people come back. I know those are some high wishful hopes, but it's some potential to look at of these calls that are just sitting there that you can grab a hold of. Now 24 calls per week might seem like a big feat, sitting here taking that in. How am I supposed to do that? How can I get my team to book 24 more calls? They already do a great job. They already tell me that, or the stats that you're already looking at, maybe your booking percentage is already 90 to 100%, maybe because you're maybe not looking at the full scale. But think about it like this: 24 calls is really doable when you break it down. I was reading something on LinkedIn yesterday. It was very interesting. There was a guy sharing his weight loss journey, and I know this is off topic, but he said the first step was he talked to somebody about it. How can he fix it? They said do 1 lap around your neighborhood, and that lap turned into 2, then turned into 3, turned into 4. So it's just a step-by-step process, and that's comparable to this. You're not just going to go in and book 24 calls right away every single week, but start booking those additional calls, and I think you'll see yourself get there. But look at it this way: if you have 2 CSRs, maybe if you're $1 million, $2 million company, that's only 12 more calls each that each one of them need to book. 4 CSRs, 6 more calls a week. That's just 1 more call a day for those CSRs. And if you have 6 CSRs or more, that's only 4 calls per week for each of them. That's less than 1 call a day. So they can have an off day on Friday and not book that extra call. And you're still getting that $1 million. And so again, it's super doable, step-by-step process. Start booking 1 extra call a day, then 2 extra calls a day. And I promise you'll see that revenue start to increase again without even spending more on that marketing budget that you've allocated.
Yeah, and Austin, that's the key, because cost per lead is not cheap in the home services, especially in bigger markets. And so thinking about going out and buying 24 more leads might seem like you've got to put more money in, and it'd be it's an expense that you weren't planning for. But these 24 leads could already be there. In fact, if you're doubting that, I just want you to go with us here and think. We're going to talk some moment about call tracking. If you're not doing that, then you don't know whether they're there or not. It's funny. We've talked to. It's one of the things we ask a home service company as we're bringing them on as a partner of ours, is what's your booking percentage right now? Because that gives us an understanding. If we're going to go out and drive leads for them, by the way, we drive leads. If we go out for them and drive leads, we want to understand, how's that going to translate in their call center? Because we're going to be putting a lot of effort into it, and we're going to help. We want to help them grow their business. Well, we need to know if there's a problem in the call center. And so many of them say, oh, the call center is great. They're booking 80-90% of the calls. Okay, that seems really great. But then we get into it and we start tracking and we uncover some really ugly things. And no joke, sometimes, Austin, we've gone from seeing the claim that we're booking 80%, then we see it's really more like 30%.
Yeah.
Because there wasn't very good call tracking in place. And there may have been some tracking in place, but no one was managing it or overseeing it because they were busy doing 1,000 other things. And so I'm telling you that 24 calls a week is in there. And your team, just think about it. If you've got 4 CSRs, they just got to book 6 more calls a week apiece. That's one extra plus another one at the end of the week that they're already doing. Just work a little bit extra harder. But the thing is, it's not about working harder. It's about being smarter. And so we're going to share with you guys in just a few minutes. There's a lot of meat to come still on how they can take some tools that they may not currently have, or maybe they only have partial tools, or they have the tool, they're not knowing how to use it quite right yet. But these 24 calls, they're doable. And Austin, we're going to move into some call tracking stuff right now, aren't we?
Yeah, let's jump in there. We've got about 10 minutes left. I know there's a lot still to share. But yeah, call tracking. Let's kind of dive into that. I mean, the importance of it. I think it could potentially be one of the most important parts of your marketing plan, because we say it every time. Again, you could say your marketing's too expensive. You could say your marketing's not working. You could say, I'm turning this lead generation company off because we're not booking enough calls. What's the common problem? The common problem there is the call center. The calls are coming in. It's not working because the calls aren't being booked, or it's too expensive because you're not making enough revenue on the calls that you're paying for to come into your business. So that's why I think, like you were saying, it's so important. Without it, you almost are blind in a way. You don't know what's coming in. You don't know the outcomes. You don't know what calls are coming in, maybe as a duplicate call, or you don't know those opportunities you were missing. I think that's the whole point of today.
Yeah. And
so
you don't know how well your team is performing on the phone.
Yeah, I think that's it. And nobody likes to be monitored or have a report card per se, but it's not that way. It's really it's I guess really evaluating your company as a whole. You want to make sure what you're paying for is being capitalized when it comes to those doors, and it's being executed on. And so
yes.
A couple of these questions that Josh and I came up with to ask yourself as an owner or marketing director or call center manager who might be watching this, do you know how many calls your call center is getting each day, each week, each month? That's really the first step into knowing how many calls are coming through the door. And then you can look at how many of those calls are being lost. How many are won? What's the margin of error there of the calls you could be capitalizing on and winning? And then, do you know how your call center sounds on the phone with customers? I think this is an interesting one, and I've heard it in other kind of call center conversations with either other coaches or people that have been involved in a call center before. But if you're the boss and you walk through your call center, they're going to perk up a little bit. They're going to have their best voice on. They're going to sound like they're doing a great job. But as soon as that door closes or you're out the door to go to play some golf or whatever you're going to do, they're going to go back to the way they were performing before you were in that room. And not saying that that's everybody, but there are those people. And so, and that's another thing. You can even test your own call center, call from a different phone, call from your friend's phone, and just see how your call center is answering the phone. And that's kind of really another step to improvement there is test your own call center without them knowing you're testing. So I think there's a lot here. I think there's a lot of info that we've shared here, but Josh, any extra insights here on call tracking and the importance of it?
No, it's elementary. Everyone's probably heard of it. They need to be doing it. But more than just doing it, they need to have someone managing it. It's one thing to have the calls recorded and tracked and everything. It's another thing to actually do something with that information.
Yeah.
And if you cannot answer that, you just simply cannot answer these questions without call tracking in place. You got to have it. It's got to be the foundation of your call center, and then the foundation of your marketing strategy as well.
Yep, that's exactly right. So, Josh, let's look at now. We've got 6 minutes left. Let's look at what these home service companies can do, or what we do for some of our most successful clients that are training their call centers.
Yeah.
How are we training them? What did we create? And so how can you better equip your call center for success to capitalize on these lost opportunities? And
yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing here is we've whet your appetite with understanding the call center is the first impression team. They got to see it that way. And then they've got to understand that their job is to pass the baton to the technician, to set that technician up for success. And there's some technology and some tools that have to be in place in order for you to ensure that that's happening properly, and that's call tracking. Now that we've discussed that, what are those tools to equip them with? We can't go through a full training here today, but you'll have Austin's contact information to get more information from us. And I've got a special announcement at the end. I know that every time you say that, it sounds like we're going to sell something. I'm not selling you anything, but I want to tell you something we haven't told publicly yet. And when it comes to call center training, that I want to share with you guys who are watching this live or who are watching this on a replay. Stick around to the end. We'll get to that. But yes, Austin, let's jump in real quick with a little bit of this meat. The tools that we're going to talk about here, we call them the Vital 10. There are 10 components that we've discovered in nearly every call reviewed from the most successful home service companies in the industry. We work hard not to drop names on this webinar series, this live discussion series of ours. But if you think of some of those big names that you know in the industry, we're probably talking about them, and we most likely are talking about them. There are 10 things that can be found in every single successful call they have. Some of them we call them the Vital 10. Some of them you find more of, but you'll see a cross sampling of those calls. You'll see those 10 things present in those calls. You'll also see a higher ratio of calls to appointments. And that's the key here. We break those up into 2 categories. You're looking at the screen here, you see this roadmap. We don't do scripts. We don't recommend scripts. We throw scripts out the window. We want to instead give your people tools. And so if you want more information about this roadmap, please do get Austin's information at the end of this call. I believe your phone number and email is on there, right, Austin?
Yep.
And we will get this information to you. Even if you're watching on a replay a year later, email Austin, call Austin, we'll get this information to you. This roadmap is very, very important. Okay, so on this roadmap, there's 10 components. We break those up into 2 categories. One is the fundamentals. There are 5 fundamentals. We consider these the pieces necessary to frame the call. That call has to be framed. Remember, you're paying these people to work in your call center. They're earning a living as a call center team member, which makes them a professional. They're a pro. They need to be treated like pros. They need to behave like pros, and they need to understand like pros that there is a strategy, that they need to frame that conversation. And it's very, very simple things like, number 1, a memorable greeting. Remember, these people are calling frustrated, and they're calling with a problem. And we like to teach something here called a pattern interrupter. How can your team member interrupt the pattern of that situation, the pattern of their problem, the pattern of their day, the pattern of the situation that is usually, I got to call this company, I got to scream at them to get here on time, and then I'm going to negotiate my price because I'm not going to pay what they quote me. You know, that pattern that people generally feel about how this whole thing goes down. We can interrupt that pattern with a unique greeting instead of something like, hey, thanks for calling Sean's Electric. It could be, it's a marvelous Monday. Thank you for calling Sean's Electric. How can we brighten your day? I don't care who you are, you hear a greeting like that, you might think it's silly, you might think it's amazing, but if you haven't heard it before, and it's going to stop. It's going to cause you to take a moment and stop. It's also very important how and where you collect that customer information. It's very important to have that information because you want it to be able to look them up in the system. You want to be able to track them down if the call gets interrupted, whatever it might be. You need that customer information, and there's a time and a place to get it. And sometimes it's asked the wrong time, wrong place, and it pisses that customer off and they're gone. Also, they need to understand the fundamental of the ask. Have not because you ask not. There's a reason they called you, so you should have no problem asking them to get on your calendar with an appointment, and and your team needs to be instructed and trained on how to do so. Again, we're not going through full training today, but we're just giving you the nuggets that you need to know. One thing that is often forgotten about on calls is a summary conclusion. Why does it matter? They've already booked. We're going to send a technician out. We're going to collect. It's important to summarize that because you punctuate that experience. Also, in that summary conclusion, you'll be surprised how many things get caught, miscommunications. Oh, no. I don't live in that part of town. Oh, no. We don't need that service, or we need this service, or no, I thought you said you were coming today. No, ma'am, we're coming tomorrow. And so many things get missed. And then you get this bad review, you get this irate customer, you get this complaint that a nice solid punctuation at the end of that call with a great summary conclusion just really helps prevent those. On top of it, it makes the full round experience happen. You begin strong, you end strong. And then another component that is fundamental is something as simple as gratitude. Letting that caller know how thankful you are that they called. It's very important. People want to be appreciated. If you pay attention to this, when you go into restaurants or hotels, they thank you a million times. The hospitality industry has it nailed down. You will be thanked for your service. You will be thanked for your time. You will be thanked for your complaint. Do you expect that from your electrician? Do you expect that from your plumber? Probably not. But your customers can learn to expect that from you. Closing that call out with gratitude, expressing gratitude throughout the entire call changes that experience. We want to frame the call, interrupt the pattern. Now that we've got them, we want to not only get them across the line as a customer, but even keep them as a customer for life, and be able to sell more of our services to them. That's the first group of these five, the vital 10. We call them the 5 fundamentals. The other 5 are the 5 techniques. Things like empathy and assurance and value and tone, and then strategy. How is your team applying all these other vital 9 with that last vital 10, strategy? Think about this empathy one. It's super important. Let's say I have the power goes out in my bathroom, but not in any other room in my house. Clearly there's something going on, probably the breaker's flipped, or maybe there's a faulty circuit. I need someone to come out and take a look at it. It's very frustrating to me because I can't shave without cutting myself. And so I'm just gonna grow my beard out, and I'm frustrated by that. So I call and I say, hey, I've got this issue. There's no power in my bathroom and I can't shave. Okay, well, yeah, we'll get a technician out there. Missed opportunity for empathy. Let me show you an example where empathy would just come naturally. Let's say the caller called that same company, spoke to the same CSR and said, hey, I got a big problem. The whole back wall of my child's room has no power, and that's where the night light's plugged in, and she's scared to death to go to bed at night. That CSR automatically is going to go, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. Let's get that fixed. It's easy when you can identify and empathize with someone. And so we want to, you want your team to be trained and equipped with how to have that same expression of empathy for every single situation and call that comes through. Remember, they're the first impression. They're the ones that wear your core values as a badge, presenting that to the callers call in. Not only that, they're responsible for creating a caring experience for them on the phone to set that technician for success, so that one, you book the call, two, you get the revenue from the sale, and then you got a customer for life. You can grow your business by simply tweaking these things in your call center. Assurance is another one that's super important as well. Being able to just assure the customer, hey, it's Josh. I've got this problem in my bathroom. The switch doesn't work. Hey, Josh, you called the right place. We deal with those things constantly. Tell me more about it. How long has this been going on? Now we're into a conversation, right? I'm not just Flo at the diner taking the order, writing it down, giving it to Bob to whip it up on the griddle and bring it back. No, I'm sitting with you, and I'm figuring out what's going on because we care. We're the best in the business. Don't call around. We got you. We'll make this happen for you. Value is a super important one too, because most of you guys probably charge a dispatch fee, a service fee, and people are all caught onto that. They know, so they go, hey, how much is your service fee? You never spit numbers without first building value. Your team needs to know how to do that in an effective way. Tone, super important. And then of course, strategy. So these vital 10 are super effective. These are the things that we found. We didn't make these up. We found these in virtually every single call that we reviewed from the most successful home service companies in the industry. They have this stuff down pat. And so your call center needs to know these things. This is how you can add $1 million in revenue. Remember, if we go back, we showed you the math. If you've got an average ticket of $800 and that you just need 24 more calls booked every week times 52 weeks, that's like $998,000. Those 24 calls are probably already coming into your call center.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right, Josh. And yeah, I think what we just covered here in the feedback training, there's a whole lot more to it, but call tracking is a part of it. Training is a part of it. Teaching these fundamentals and techniques is a part of it. But as a whole, again, it helps your call center be that better first impression. It helps your call center set those techs up for success and find that additional revenue that's already probably coming in. So want to thank you guys for joining us today. I know we went a few minutes over, so glad you guys could stick around and hear the actual kind of meat of how you can help that call center and improve day over day. But again, we would love to share this information with you guys. We love having you guys join us here today. I know Josh mentioned it a couple of times. My name, email, phone number are all right here on the screen. So please feel free to screenshot this if you can. Take a picture, whatever you need to do. Also note our website there. There's a ton of free resources on there to help evaluate your whole marketing strategy as a whole. Not a sales tactic, nothing like that. It's you pop your email in, you get a report that we've put together to help you guys grow your business, send it to your current provider. Whatever you want to do with it, it's yours completely free. So,
hey, remember I said I was going to drop a special announcement here. Now this is, I've been on these calls before and I've seen this. Hey, we got a special announcement for $9.99, whatever. We're not selling anything. Today is not about selling anything, but I will tell you this program, we offer a training program that we're not going to talk about right now because this isn't about sales. But it is a program you get in and your team goes through personalized training over an entire year. Now, the special announcement is we're putting this all together in a video course that you can have access to. It's not ready yet. We're actually in production right now. And I can't talk too much about it because we have an agreement with a big equipment manufacturer who I can't say their name, but they make water heaters, tankless water heaters, air conditioners, furnaces, heaters. You guys probably could think of who does that. And we're rolling it out to them first this year. And so it's going to explode. It's going to be big, but we will soon be making it available to the public, to everybody. And you're going to want to get your hands on this. And so if anything, email Austin to get more information about that, or to at least be alerted when it's available, because you literally can add $1 million to your revenue by simply applying these vital 10 components to your call center. And it's something your team can be trained in, to be equipped in, and then begin to find more purpose and fulfillment in their role as they see what they do impacts not only the business as it grows, but also the experience the customers have. and they'll be getting those reviews, those rants and those raves about your service. It's an awesome thing to see a call center team light up and get excited about the work they do.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, Josh, thanks again for jumping on here today and sharing everything that you know about call centers and tracking and training and for everyone that's on with us today or watching in the future. I hope you're able to take some of this, apply it to your call center, and start to see the difference it can make by just simply booking more calls.